Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Front Row Access Podcast. I am your host, Steven Russo. It's my co-host, Anthony.
Oh.
So today, we have a very special episode for you guys, because I bet you thought we disappeared. No, we did not disappear. I promise you we did not.
And we don't only do UFC. We got some music industry for you.
Yeah, I mean, you heard our NF track. You guys blew that shit up. Thank you. There was one person that went 100% of the video. I appreciate you for that.
You goated.
And today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. And this was originally supposed to be posted a little while ago because it's Linkin Park. And, I told you on my Instagram, which you should go and follow it. It is at front_row_access on Instagram. I told you that I had lost the footage in the editing process, which sucked. So today, it's a little bit different, and we're going to reshoot it and see how it goes. So this is pretty much a redo. Anyway, so there's one thing that I have to say I like the most with Linkin Park is their ability to blend different genres and make them work. As we know from Hybrid Theory, the origin of that name is because it was a test to see if those two genres could work. Because everybody in the early 2000s was a little bit sick of listening to Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears just dominate the radio and needed something a little bit more different. So we got some angry 20-year-olds on stage with dyed hair and spiky hair and decided, let's make them rock stars.
It's like, okay, this is pop, this is pop, this is pop, this is pop. What's this?
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now, I will say Linkin Park is my favorite band in existence, and I am going to have a great time talking about it today. So we're going to jump into the first album, which is Hybrid Theory, but first, freaking inverted camera. All right. Pepsi, hit me up. We have a business email now. It's frontrowaccess15@gmail.com. Please send us a shout. I promise you, I will market your product perfectly.
We will always promote Mountain Dew.
We will always promote Mountain Dew on the Front Row Access podcast. So trust me, your brand is safe with us. So we're going to crack this baby open. Now let's get to talking about some juicy stories in the world of Linkin Park. So, Linkin Park started out in 1999 under the band Zero. Originally, it was Mike Shinoda, Rob Borden, and Brad Delson, which are the drummer, the lead guitarist, and of course, we all know Mike Shinoda as the secondary vocal and rhythm guitarist of Linkin Park. And they wanted to make a band, so they made Zero. And they actually had a different lead singer that wasn't Chester Bennington. His name was Mark Wakefield. And then they actually changed their name from Zero to Hybrid Theory, and then they changed it to Linkin Park and made their first album, Hybrid Theory. Now, Hybrid Theory came out in 2000, many, many years ago. I wasn't even born yet. You was a little kid. And basically, the only way that we can describe it is Linkin Park is the definition of an overnight success. I've heard stories from plenty of people, my parents, from Anthony, from everybody, that they kind of just broke out of nowhere. And, like, all of a sudden, we just had these rock stars just out in the open. And we're like, wait, who the hell are these guys? Who the fuck is Linkin Park? And
success is the right word. They just took over the airwaves.
They really did.
Amazing.
It was truly amazing. They blew up with their song One Step Closer, and that was their first one to hit the radio. And then, of course, we all know in the end was also on Hybrid Theory. Now, so they have 7 studio albums in total, and many, many different American Music Awards. They have Grammys, they have BMAs, they have anything that a person could possibly win in the music industry, they have won it. So, and they've been probably one of the most influential artists and voices of this millennia, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
They were the voice of the voiceless, the first people that really highlighted the subjects that they highlighted, like, subjects of mental health, depression, pain, sorrow, all the fun stuff that we love to
all the
avoid.
Things that people keep in the dark, hidden away.
Crawling in their skin, if you will. That's one Linkin Park reference today. There's gonna be more of those.
I'm proud of you. It's only been like 4 minutes. You got it.
I know. Plenty more to come. Anyway, so we're gonna start off with Hybrid Theory. we're gonna go over some of the big hits on the album, and we're gonna go over a couple of lyric breakdowns, and we're gonna say our favorites for each album, and then we're just gonna move on to the next one. This is gonna be a two-parter, guys. There's a lot to say about these guys. So, Hybrid Theory. My goodness. Dude, we look at that album cover. You guys know it. You guys love it. And you know when you see that, you're about to go on a nostalgia trip back to Linkin Park land in 2000.
I do have a question. How long did it take you to actually track that down?
How long?
This pop.
A couple years. A few years. Until I finally got it at a Newberry Comics nearby. They got a shipment in, and I was like, give it to me now. Do it. Do it now.
I need it.
I need it. And yeah, so that's how it went down. So, Linkin Park's standout album, their first album, Hybrid Theory, has hits such as Paper Cut, One Step Closer, With You, Crawling, By Myself, and of course, everybody's favorite, In the End, plus a couple of very notable tracks such as Pushing Me Away and Forgotten. These are all some really good tracks, so Anthony, we're going to start off with what your favorites are.
So my favorites for this one, I like Crawling for sure. Points of Authority, yes. In the End, of course. I would say those are my top three.
Now, see, from this album, my favorite is Crawling, off of Hybrid Theory. Matter of fact, I actually learned how to sing it. It was very, very hard, but I got it. Anthony heard it.
Yep.
And Crawling's my favorite on here, followed by One Step Closer, and I absolutely love By Myself. So we both mentioned Crawling, so we're gonna jump right into Crawling, which is probably one of the most notable tracks from Linkin Park because of really how iconic it was and how much of an impact it made on many people. So we're gonna get right to it. I'm gonna get right to the Crawling lyrics right now. So we started off with this really very interesting instrumental. It sounded like a drain. I'm sure if you guys have heard Crawling, you know what the sound is. It sounds like water going down a drain.
Poured down.
Like being poured down by like a bottle or something. It's a very, very cool intro to it. And then you get into the little keyboard symphonics, the dun dun dun, you know. And then, of course, we get the nice little power chords that Linkin Park loves. And then, of course, Chester come barging in with the and with the crawling in my skin, and that's the first lyric. So we have crawling in my skin, these wounds they will not heal. Fear is how I fall, and confusing what is real. Guys, we're only about maybe 30 seconds into the song, and we already got a whole lot to unpackage here. This shit's like an onion, just like an F. So, crawling in my skin, I don't know exactly what they probably, it's meant to, like a feeling, like this feeling of, like, self-doubt, because crawling is all about holding yourself accountable, and holding yourself hostage, and basically saying, I am my own worst enemy, and I do not mean the Lit song when I say that. But, there's gonna be so many early 2000s fucking memes in this podcast, so get ready. This is, like, my favorite era of music, so you're gonna hear a whole lot. And no, I do not mean the Lit song, as I mentioned. So, crawling in my skin, these wounds, they will not heal. So this person, obviously very damaged. Extremely damaged. Do we know what happened to them? No. But they're very damaged. And then we go into the next one, which is fear is how I fall, and I'm confusing what is real. Bro. Sometimes when you in pain like that, it do be like that. Like, you live in fear of, like, what's coming next. And then all of a sudden, you live in that fear so much, you start confusing what's real, what's in your head, what's not in your head, what's real, and what's not. And that's really what that whole thing means. I mean, that's quite the way to start off the song. I will definitely give it that.
To me, what this means to me is, like, it's a statement of, we all have those negative feelings and emotions. I feel like that is what's crawling beneath the skin, and that the fear of it is what then changes the perception to confusing what is real.
Very great
That's how
points.
that makes me feel.
Yeah, pretty similar on both ends here. So then we go right into the lyrics, which we start off going super heavy. We have Chester just absolutely belting, crawling that entire line. He's like just belting. You guys have heard the song. You guys know what it sounds like. So then it turns down. Then it tunes down a little bit. Then all of a sudden you hear there's something inside me that pulls beneath the surface, consuming, confusing. This lack of self-control I fear is never ending, controlling. I can't seem to find myself again. My walls are closing in. Yeah, I mean, it just be like that sometimes, man. We all have those moments, like, in your life where you feel something in just when you're eating away at yourself. Because we all get into those episodes where, like, you're like, oh, I suck. I hate myself. I do nothing right. You know, like a typical angsty high schooler.
I do apologize in advance if you thought we were just gonna gloss over and skim through these. You're incorrect, and buckle up.
Buckle up. But of course, we still have to be efficient with the time that we have a lot. That we. I'm trying to keep this under 2 hours here. You
I
know,
doubt that.
no, I highly doubt that. This is why it's a
We'll
two-parter.
try,
We're gonna try
and
to.
Lawrence will help.
Of course, Lawrence will cut out all my blabber. Thank you, Lawrence. Lawrence is our editor. Everybody hit the congratulations to Lawrence in the comments and tell him thank you because we have a YouTube channel now. Obviously, you guys are watching it right now, and or if you're on Spotify, go subscribe to the YouTube. Do it now.
YouTube channel.
Got to do it. And if you want the YouTube channel, it is in the description of our podcast, I think. If I haven't put it in there, I will. But I'm going to go on to YouTube right now and tell you the channel straight up. It is at Front Row Access Podcast, and it's capital F, capital R, and capital F in front, capital R and O in row, capital A in access, and capital P in podcast. Just look that up, or just to go Front Row Access Podcast. I doubt there are two of them out here. But, you know, they might be. If not, look for purple. Yep, so go and subscribe to the YouTube. And if you're already watching this on YouTube, go over to Spotify and follow us there. Thank you.
Actually, if you're already watching us, thank you.
And I mean, while you're at it, just go and follow our Instagram too. I plugged it earlier. It's front underscore row underscore access. Go hit that up on Instagram. Follow us there. So you get updates on when new episodes are coming. I do cool little promo videos on there. And of course, it's another way for me to connect with you guys. I'm going to do polls on the story. You know, all that fun stuff. So anyway, back to Linkin Park. Now that my social media plug is over. Anyway. So this person says, there's something inside me that pulls beneath the surface. Yeah. You're getting pulled under by yourself. You're getting in your own way. You just can't seem to get anything right.
Drowning inside oneself.
That's
That's tough.
that's really tough.
And relatable.
Extremely relatable. And if you guys are out there, remember, you're not the only one going through it. It says consuming and confusing. So it's just consuming every part of self-worth that this man possibly has in his man, woman, whomever this person has inside themselves, and it's confusing them. Lack of self-control they fear is never ending. Sometimes when you go off the deep end so hard, it's hard to control yourself again. I'm sure a couple of you guys have been there. I pray that you don't have to experience it, and I hope that you keep yourself in check. But, you know, sometimes we're not perfect because, you know, we're humans. And we have emotions, and sometimes the emotions aren't very helpful, and they're kind of mean, you know? So, this lack of self-control, I fear, is never ending, because, like, you know, when you're depressed like that, you start doing reckless shit. You start going fucking 120 down the highway, not giving two shits. You start, like, doing high-risk stuff that, like, if you died, you'd be like, meh. You know? And then saying this lack of self-control is, well, controlling them. It's funny. Lack of control is controlling you. And then it says, I can't seem to find myself again. My walls are closing in. This just tells me this person's been this way for a long time. Like, they've been lost for... they've been lost for a very long time. Go and check out Lost on Spotify if you haven't already. But, actually, I think it's on YouTube as well. So, yeah, so they're lost within themselves. They're like, they've been here for a while. They're like, yeah, bro, this ain't my first rodeo. This shit fucking blows, man. And, you know, that's just how it is sometimes. And then it says, I felt this way before. so insecure. Like, they know this feeling. This isn't the first time that they've gotten to this point. They've been here. They've been doing this for years on end, probably.
This is not a one-time thing, and it's not unfamiliar to them.
Which that's what depression's like, guys. Uh, you have your days where you're actually like all right, but you also have your days where like you're like this person. Like you're struggling to find yourself. Your walls they're closing in. And you know what it feels like, and you just feel so insecure because you are insecure mentally. You don't know what's going on, and you're confused. There's a lot of shit going on, and you just can't seem to pinpoint where it's coming from. And then of course you go back into the chorus. Crawling in my skin. These wounds they will not heal. Fear is how I fall. Confusing what is real. We already went over that. You guys know what it is. And we go, discomfort endlessly has pulled itself upon me. Distracting, reacting. Against my will, I stand beside my own reflection. It's haunting how I can't seem to find myself again. My walls are closing in. I've felt this way before. So insecure. I'm gonna belt out in song multiple times. I'm so sorry, audience. But, discomfort endlessly has pulled itself upon me. This person's used to being uncomfortable. This person's used to feeling this way, and it's awful because you shouldn't be used to feeling that way. You shouldn't be going numb to it. But,
But also, on that note, we're talking about this person in general. This is supposed to be a relatable song for the group to also get you in with their fan base, because a lot of people are feeling like this. It's not just this one, and no one should feel ashamed of that, because we all know perfect people don't exist.
oh no, definitely not. If perfect people existed, the world would be paradise. But, that's not the case. But, here we go. We're going to move on now. No, we just pretty much go back into the chorus, and it's like really cool instrumentals on the way out. You start hearing that same chime that you heard at the beginning, and eventually the track closes out with that same drain sound again. But this time it sounds like it's like emptied now. Like it's not getting actively poured down anymore. It's like done. It's fizzled away. So kind of cool how it ends. So if you haven't listened to Crawling, which I highly doubt you haven't, but listen to it now and then come back and then you'll know exactly what we meant. So basically,
And keep in mind, when this actually was playing on the radio, what you were hearing before this was not similar at all. You were hearing really, really big pop and really big hip hop at the time. So this was just stand out, you know? It drew the attention and definitely helped increase their reputation.
and plus it got rock back into the mainstream. Linkin Park did a great job at doing that because rock had been kind of in this stagnation with grunge since the 90s, and even then grunge was kind of a phase. um, I mean, I know it's not a phase, Mom, but still. Um, it's just how it went down. And so basically, if we were to describe Crawling in a nutshell, it's you're your own worst enemy. And depression sucks. And it's an accurate representation about what depression feels like and how it will feel like mentally. And, this is the first time people had heard a song, like, tackle those kind of tougher topics, because you're not used to it. You're used to, your poppy love songs. And, of course, you had your occasional really edgy, like, grunge song every now and again.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, at this same time, I was 6, but a lot of it was, shiny, 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 shiny on the radio, if you can feel that as a description. And then you hear this, and then your eye is immediately drawn to it.
Yeah, because it just stood out. You never heard something like that before. And this, like, if you grew up in a generation, like my parents' generation especially, his mom's too, but, like, our parents' generation especially, like, if you were told that, nobody really talked about having depression and anxiety or anything like that, or, like, suicidal thoughts, if you were depressed, they just tell you to go to work, and then all of a sudden your depression's gone because money solves every problem, obviously, because Chester Bennington totally would still be alive if money solved every problem, but, he's not.
Unfortunately, when it came to mental health, not a lot of light shine to them, which is sad.
But they said, fuck you. These guys, part of the same generation, they said, fuck you. I'm gonna talk about this shit because I guarantee you there are other people that feel this exact same way. And sure enough, here we are. We felt the exact same way.
23 years later, talking about it. I mean,
Uh-huh. And here we are. It's 23 years afterwards, and if you hear that song, you'd think it came out yesterday. If you hear it for the first time, like it's that special of a song. And Crawling is definitely one that needs to be mentioned in almost every single Linkin Park discussion that you ever have. And like Chester even said, like this song like was meant to show you that like you are your own worst enemy, and your head can tell you lies. And this is just how it feels because nobody really knew what it felt like before, and now they do. We're gonna go into the next track though. Now that we have put Crawling in the bucket, um, what's the next one we should do? I know we had mentioned it, but we'll go Points of Authority. Yeah, let's get Points of Authority out of here. Then we'll do By Myself, and then we'll move on to Meteora. Alright, so Points of Authority, guys. This is another big hit off of Linkin Park's album Hybrid Theory. This one played on every radio station, in every skate park, and, in every high school hallway back in 2000. I'm sure. But, I mean, I wasn't in a high school hallway in 2000, matter of fact. That wasn't even a thought yet. But, anyway, let's get into the song. So we start Points of Authority off with saying, forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. Puts your name to shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast, you just won't last. I don't know, when I hear that, to me, it sounds like it's from a perspective of like a bully. Like, like, forfeit the game before, like, you get hurt. Like, just quit, Like,
who's ever been told that they can't do anything?
hi, I was told I couldn't start a podcast. Look at me now. Yeah.
Is there anyone out there, honestly, make a comment if you can, who's been told that they couldn't do something? Like, is there anyone that hasn't been told that? Please let me know.
Because I don't think, unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, I'm pretty sure you were told that you can't do something at some point. But even if you were born with a silver spoon, I'm sure you were told that you couldn't do things.
You will always tell you can't do something. And I think that's some jealousy of them not doing what they wanted to.
Exactly. Anyway, but that's what I think of when I hear the first line of Points of Authority, Mike's part in general. Because Mike opens that up, and it sounds like really like muffled, like radio static when he's like coming in. It's like forfeit the game, like it's all scrambly, like you it sounds like a radio scramble, and then like you hear the lyrics on top of it, and then it drops into the, the typical Linkin Park power chords that we all love, and then we go to Chester's part, which is you love the way I look at you, while taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through. You take away if I give in, my life, my pride is broken. So this is just the victim going from the bully's perspective, and it seems like he kind of wants you to doubt him in a way, because like you hear, you love the way I look at you while taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through. Like, it looks like he's like, yeah, keep doing it. I'm gonna keep proving you wrong. I don't know. You second that notion?
I would. I'm really trying very hard not to make more the victim comment, so I will continue trying to do that. But yeah, because this is about proving something against someone when I hear that.
And you're like, yeah, just keep doing it. I'm just gonna keep proving you wrong. And then we go into the chorus, which is, you like to think you're never wrong. You live what you've learned. You have to act like you're someone. You live what you've learned. That's like, nice little parentheses. And then you want someone to hurt like you. You want to share what you've been through. You live what you've learned. So, I mean, that just describes a bully perfectly to me. I mean, you like to think you're never wrong. You act like you're all big and tough. But deep down inside, you're hurting, and you know it. And you just want somebody to hurt like you. Because you want to share what you've been through, and put your demons onto somebody else's plate in order to make yourself feel like you are someone. Because bullies just be like that sometimes.
Two things about this. To me, it describes a cycle, and this is another good opportunity for them to highlight their storytelling, which is quite a bit.
On par. We love the Linkin Park storytelling. It's hidden though. You have to look for it, but when you find it, you find it. I mean, you don't have to look too deep though. Most of it you can take at a face value, especially with Breaking the Habit, which we will get into later on. Because we have to mention Breaking the Habit off of Meteora because that's just kind of, a big one. Anyway, next line. You love the things I say I'll do, the way I hurt myself again just to get back at you. You take away when I give in, my life, my pride is broken. So, you love the things that I say I'll do, and the way I hurt myself again just to get back at you. That's a little bit of a confusing line, definitely. This kind of gives me a little bit of mixed signals. But
To me, I don't see too much of a mixed signal there. From my own viewpoint, it's pleasure in the torment of others. You hear like what I'm gonna do to myself, and you're taking pleasure in that, and then I'm gonna go off and do that, and that what I give you, you're taking. That's
you take away when I
yeah.
give in. When I give in. And, my life, my pride is broken. I'm literally destroying myself because of you.
And you
Thanks
like
a
that.
lot. So bottom line, I feel, and then we just go back into just some really cool instrumentals. Mike and Chester just bouncing off of each other. Mike continuing to do the forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. And then like there's Chester in the background. He's like screaming. It's like awesome. You should totally go and watch that. But there isn't much more to tackle with this song. So we're gonna say points of authority in a nutshell. It's bully and victim. You
Did you
know,
say more the victim?
more the
I'm
victim.
sorry.
Yeah.
Why?
Go and do it. Go listen to it. It's a good song, I promise. But yeah, we got bully and victim. This just taps into the brain of a bully and taps into the brain of a victim. And then just puts it on a tremendous display. A great
and
song.
and obviously at this point in time, everyone was doing that. He says
Bullying
sarcastically.
bullying was totally in at this point in time.
Everyone was exposing this to the airwaves. Letting the world know exactly the dirty underside that everyone keeps hidden.
Linkin Park shedding light on a trapped issue once again. I'd say this song probably helped with the whole, bully awareness. You know? Because this song is like, that's exactly what this is. The song is about bullies.
Yeah.
And at least that's what Anthony and I have gathered from it. And you guys might get something else. It could be in relation to a different person. Maybe not a bully, per se, but like a older figure, a grown up, if you will, a person that might have fucked you over one too many times. Which, at that point, is pretty much a bully. But, yeah, so that's pretty much points of authority. Bullies suck. And, you don't know what you're putting somebody through until, you put it on display on the airwaves, and then all of a sudden, every single bully victim's gonna be like, hey, wait a minute. That's it. That's that. That's what I need.
And what I like picturing this, I'm going to talk about two things, but what I like picturing this is the person on the school bus who's discovering this and playing this in their CD player. I know you guys might not know what that is.
I know what it is.
Trust me, it did exist at some point. But
People walk around with these big clunky things in their fucking pockets.
but like a star in the sky, like each one lighting up and lighting up for the fan base to grow and expand as it did then. And the other thing I wanted to mention was what I like doing when I hear stuff like this is flipping it to be more motivational. So in my mind, I would hear this and I'd be thinking, why am I going to let this bully do that? And I'd use that as motivation. Just a little side note, like.
Well said. I like that. I haven't really thought of it that way. I think like this song just like shows what a bully is, which is just somebody that hurts deeply on the inside and wants you to feel it. A lot of people didn't understand that at that time. I'm pretty sure, and probably just thought that this dude was just being a jerk for God knows whatever reason. So now we're gonna move on to our next one, which is going to be, we're gonna go. I mean, we could do Paper Cut. That's the more popular one.
It's a good one.
But other notable track that you should totally go and look is By Myself. It's another kind of self-destruction-esque song. And it's like really the result of not like being told how to react in certain scenarios. Because, one of the biggest things is like, how do you expect that I would know what to do when all I know is what you tell me to? Don't you? Nah. Sorry. But anyway, go check out By Myself. That's actually a really good song about not really knowing what to do in certain scenarios because somebody told you to just react a certain way, and that's that. Bullshit, by the way. Don't ever fall for that bullshit. But so we're gonna move on right along here. We're gonna go to Paper Cut, which, guys, this was the one that started it all. This was the first track on the first album. It was the first time that anybody would hear Linkin Park if they bought the album, of course, and didn't just hear it on the radio. But even then, the first track is like an intro to like
It's a statement of the disc.
is the statement of the disc, and we're gonna get into it right now. It gives you more depth about the band because like the way I think of this song is like Paper Cut's really special, obviously. So what I think of when I think about this song is like, yeah, here we are. This is what we do. This is how we sound. This is what we're gonna be talking about. If you don't like it, shut the fuck up.
And that's a great thing to talk about because this was what they chose to put as track one. They're saying what they wanted you to know about them.
And it gives you
All
more,
the discs.
and it gives you more depth about the artist. And I guarantee you that as soon as you heard this first track, you were even bigger of a fan than when you heard One Step Closer on that rock radio station one day. Anyway, so we go into the Mike Shinoda coming in with the rap. Also, awesome fucking symphonics in the background with guitars and drums. It's definitely very heavy. It's on the heavier side, but it's not like Giving Up heavy. If y'all know Giving Up, yeah, that's a pretty heavy song. But here we go. So Mike goes into it by saying, "Why does it feel like night today? Something in here's not right today. Why am I so uptight today? Paranoia is all I got left. I don't know what stressed me first or how the pressure was fed, but I know just what it feels like to have a voice in the back of my head." Guys, we're like 30 seconds in, and we already got all of this. So this person's obviously pretty confused, probably a little bit emotionally distraught right now. Why does it feel like night today? Something in the air's not right today. Like, this person's like confused. They feel a little bit off today. They're like, what the hell's going on? Why am I feeling like this? And it's like, and then they go like, why am I so uptight today? They don't know what's going on. They're very confused. They're feeling pretty bad, and they don't know why. And it says paranoia is all I got left, because sometimes all you are left with is your fear in this world. And they're just shedding a light onto that. He goes, I don't know what stressed me first or how the pressure was fed. More confusion. But I know just what it feels like to have a voice in the back of my head. So it just goes to show that it's all within his own head. It's not out here. It's in here. And he's highlighting it by saying, that's why it feels like night. That's why I'm uptight. That's why I'm stressed. Is because there's a voice in the back of my head. And then we go into pre-chorus. It's like, it's a face that I hold inside, face that awakes when I close my eyes, face that I watch every time face that watches every time I lie, and a face that laughs every time I fall, and watches everything. But so there's another person in your head, which a lot of people with depression, they do have two versions of people in their head. Chester mentioned in one of his last interviews that he ever did that there were two Chesters. There's the one that's out here. He's good. He's a lead singer of Linkin Park. He has a family, a wife, successful band, rich, can have anything that he ever wants. But then he goes, there's another Chester in here that says mean things to him. He says that his head is like a bad neighborhood, and that there's another Chester in there that's just telling me to give up. It doesn't say nice things to me. That's exactly what I get out of this right here. Chester explained depression perfectly, and so did this same line. There's a person inside that's, creeping around in that mansion up there that's telling you everything. Yeah, shouting back to the last episode. Y'all should go and, listen to NF, though. I know this is a Linkin Park episode, but still, you should go and listen to NF.
Back on track.
Back on track, though.
So, this is obviously the description of an eternal issue, which was not obviously spotlighted in the early 2000s. also, what's to be noted is that the statement of you being your own worst critic is very true and very heavy.
Indeed, it is.
Heavy, by the way.
Why is everything so heavy? Anyway, so we're going right in there. It's like a face that I hold inside, a face that awakes when I close my eyes, a face that watches every time I lie, and a face that laughs every time I fall, it watches everything. So I know now, so I know that when it's time to sink or swim, the face inside and here in me is that the face inside is here in me, right underneath my skin. So like they're constantly getting reminded of that other little person that's in their head that's saying, dictating their every move.
He's always right there, always watching every move.
He's letting me know whether or not I should sink or I should swim, and that's pretty much, it's controlling him, and you know that he's highlighting that. And then we go into the chorus, which is, it's like I'm paranoid looking over my back. It's like a whirlwind inside of my head. Sorry. And it's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like the face inside is right beneath my skin. That just goes and proves my point. Then we go back to the second verse. Mike starts ripping it up on the mic again. Which, by the way, nobody has really put raps and screams together like Linkin Park did on this track before. Everybody's like, what? When they heard this, like, how did they blend the rock and the rap? Like, that shit's brand new, but I'm here to tell you that shit ain't new. Nope. They're constantly evolving. That's a high voltage reference, by the way. But, so we go. Mike starts ripping it up again. He goes, I know I've got a face in me. And it points out all the mistakes to me. And you got a face on the inside, too. And your paranoia is probably worse. And I don't know what set me off first, but you know what I can't stand? Everybody acts to the fact that it matters. They can't add up to what you can. But everybody has a face that they hold inside, you know, just that. We go back to that part. So this guy's saying, yeah, I'm aware of it. But guess what? You probably got it, too. You probably know exactly what's going on. It's a relatability thing. It's like, I know I got a face in me, and it points out all the mistakes to me. Like, it's telling me everything that's wrong with me. But here's the thing. You got a face on the inside, too. And you actually might be worse than me. It's not really meant to, like, be competitive in a way. It's meant to show you that, like, yeah, you probably feel the exact same way, don't you? You're listening to this right now, and you're going, yeah, I do got a face inside that, like, it's right beneath my skin. It's telling me what to do. And then he goes into, your paranoia is probably worse. He doesn't know.
I feel like that right there is another message too in the aspect, or in the way where your paranoia is worse for you and my paranoia is worse for me. We all are like we all are the worst critics to ourselves.
And that's basically what all the three of these songs have really highlighted. Is that you are your own worst enemy most of the time. And that's pretty much what the whole theme of this whole, like, album is. Because if you listen to every song, each song on Hybrid Theory has that kind of undertone to it. Like that kind of, I'm the one that's going wrong. I'm the one that's, like, hurting me. Because you look at songs like, I mean, sure, we have Points of Authority, but even then, that person is their own worst enemy, so therefore they're becoming a bully because of it. Like, you listen to all the other songs on here, they all have undertones of that. And that's pretty much going to wrap up Hybrid Theory. So as we know, they went on a gigantic tour for this, and then they, like, headlined, so they went from, like, performing in tiny little venues to, like, all of a sudden selling out arenas in a matter of months, because I believe Hybrid Theory was released in October of 2000. And then by '02, they were already, like, global headliners with one album.
In the end, it blew them up.
In the end, it blew them up. And unlike that song, this one didn't matter. But that's what happened. They just became the success in roughly, like even in 2001, they were starting to headline shit.
Oh yeah.
They came out of nowhere. Like, this was their big, gigantic blow-up album, but it's because they were talking about topics that, well, nobody else had been talking about in music before. It's new. Nobody knew what was. It was. It was unique and different, and plus on top of that, you're mixing the rock with the rap. You got two big genres that.
Check out the fusion.
They wanted to check out the hybrid theory, you know, and it was incredible the way it came through because then you're gonna mix the rock with the rap. It's gonna get the rock people to not be so sour towards rap, and it's gonna get the rap people to not be so sour to rock because that was very prominent at this time, I'm sure. And
And we mentioned it in the first episode, so I feel like we should definitely mention it in this. How where the Beastie Boys also, tried fusing them and whatnot, and definitely open branches and paths. Linkin Park and the hybrid theory, they're more, zoned in to the way that they're gonna go.
like Beastie Boys said, "Hey, I got something that I want to try. I want to mix some rap with some rock." Of course, we love the Beastie
Oh
Boys,
yeah.
but let's be honest, they didn't do the greatest job at blending both of them in some songs. But Linkin Park perfected it. So basically, what Beastie Boys did is they said, "Here's a blueprint. See what you can make out of it." And then you got to all these other new metal bands. You had Limp Bizkit, you had Korn, you have Linkin Park, and you have Slipknot that all took these same attributes.
All the tools that they were
Hmm.
made from it.
And they made different versions of the same blueprint. And that wouldn't have been like that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the Beastie Boys saying, "Hey, fuck it, let's try it." And because then Linkin Park heard it, like Mike Shinoda heard it, and Corey Taylor heard it, like Fred Durst heard it, and then they all of a sudden went, "Wait, what the fuck? Hang on, that sounded pretty cool. I think I can do that."
Let's give that a try.
And then they did it. I know I left out the lead vocalist for Korn. I forgot his name. Korn fans, forgive me. Don't slaughter me in the comments. I promise. If you can let me know, just please let me know nicely. And so yeah, if it wasn't for the Beastie Boys doing what they did there, that wouldn't be a thing.
Trailblazing.
So, after releasing their album, Hybrid Theory, in October of 2000, they would go on 2 years worth of tours and headlines and venues and people and, like, overnight success, just money on money on money, and just anything that you could possibly want in, like, when you're 20, 21 years old, just given to you. After.
It's like they exponentially compounded their fan base, so every day there was just more and more and more spreading their influence and helping.
And all because they made songs that about topics that nobody else was willing to talk about. And then all of a sudden they grew this gigantic fan base, and then all of a sudden they had this success that they were like they came from like performing in an apartment and their neighbors telling them to quiet down to now they're on big stages headlining rich and traveling the world, and they're young kids. They're not much older than me by this point in time. And it's it's truly remarkable. But the thing is, after you blow up, the main question that comes after it is, how you gonna follow this shit up? And holy shit, did they take that assignment? Said, "I got this." Scribbled down every single correct answer and went right on the teacher's desk and said, "I'm done." Teacher says, "Yeah, right, sure." Looks at it. They aced it. Enter Meteora. Released in March of 2003. Linkin Park's sophomore album, Meteora, blew the fuck up. Everybody was like, of course, everybody loves Hybrid Theory, but there comes a time when like people start itching for new music. They want new stuff. They want to hear what you got. They want to hear what other things that you have to offer.
Was it a one and done?
Were you a one and done?
Are you a one hit wonder?
Alright.
Are you gonna top it? Can you top it?
And holy shit, did they deliver on Meteora? This is I'm gonna be talking a whole lot about this one because this is my favorite album from Linkin Park, and they hit it right on the head. If they take a shot and it hit right between the eyes, type of deal, and they freaking aced this shit. So we go into it with Forward, which is just a tiny instrumental track that's meant to introduce Don't Stay, which, need I mention, that's probably the best song that you can start a sophomore album with. Because everybody says the sophomore album is the hardest one. Like, sure, your first album's gonna blow up, and it was great, but not everybody can follow it up in the second. You know, not everybody can.
Pressure on you.
There's a lot of pressure because now
Pressure
people.
you put on yourself.
And now everybody's like Mike and Chester were sitting there in the lab, like, holy shit, dude, how are we gonna top this? Hybrid Theory's big. How are we gonna keep this momentum going? How are we gonna outdo Hybrid Theory?
We went from apartment venues to selling out stages and arenas.
In 2 years. In like 2 years. Like, it wasn't a very long period of time. And then they got in the lab, they started cooking, and they'd produce Meteora. And then, of course, this album has a couple of cool breakout tracks. Like, we have Don't Stay on here, which is probably the best, like, intro track that you could possibly want. And then you have Somewhere I Belong. You have Faint. We all know Faint. We got Breaking the Habit on here. Nobody's Listening. Numb. Yeah, I mentioned Numb. You know, Linkin Park's most popular song. Or at least most streamed on Spotify. And, you know, just, there was a ton. I love every single song on this album. I hardly ever skip any of these songs. Like, whenever anything from Meteor comes up on the shuffle list, we listening to it. But my favorite off of this album is my favorite Linkin Park song, which is Faint. So, I gotta say my favorite, if we could form a top three, it's Faint, the Figure 9, and Numb. Those are like my three favorites off of this album. But it's hard to choose favorites off of an album when every single song is your favorite on the album. But Anthony, what were your standout tracks on this one?
Mine were definitely Figure 9, Breaking the Habit, and Somewhere I Belong.
Well, we both put in Figure 9, so we'll go over that one first and foremost. So, Figure 9 is a rather underappreciated Linkin Park song. It doesn't get as much airtime, doesn't get as much, like, plays as Faint will, because Faint is right before it on the album. And more people know Faint. Faint was on the radio. And, of course, we all know Numb was on the radio. That shit was on pop stations, for Christ's sake. But, we go into Figure 9, though. This is a rather unappreciated Linkin Park song. You know, for as underappreciated as a Linkin Park song can get, which is kind of hard to do. But, we're going to go right into it. So, we start off with, it's really cool because Faint actually flows perfectly into Figure 9 on the album, on the ending. So if you go and you listen to that without, like, any, like crossfade or anything like that, like, any kind of, like, if it's just straight through, you go, like, from this song to the next one, Figure 9 flows in perfectly after Faint. So, we get these really heavy power chords right off the rip. We're hearing them in our head. I hear them in my head right now. And then Mike Shinoda gets right into ripping it up with a rap by saying, nothing never stops, all these thoughts and the pain attached to them. Sometimes I wondered why this is happening. It's like nothing I could do would distract me when I think of how I shot myself in the back again. What is it with Linkin Park in like the first 30 seconds going wham? Here you go. Here's some heavy shit for you.
Do I have your attention now?
Did I get your attention? But anyway, let's break that down, right? So nothing ever stops, all these thoughts and the pain attached to them. What are these thoughts that you are attaching pain to? That's not something that somebody typically says. Like, and
Best thoughts you had.
sometimes I wonder why this is happening. Like, he doesn't know, like, why am I so destroyed right now? Why am I so thinking of this? And why am I so much, like, in so much pain because of this? And then they're like, sometimes I wonder why this is happening. It's like nothing I can do would distract me when I think of how I shot myself in the back again. So this person is already blaming themselves for it. Whomever this person is, they're like, oh, man, I did it again. I shot myself in the back again. So this person hasn't just done this once. They've done it multiple times, and they're like, oh my gosh, how can I just let myself down like this? And then that's pretty much all I got from it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory there.
And very, very subject heavy on the self-deprecation.
But that self-deprecation has reasoning, and we're gonna get into it right now. So we go into, because from the infinite words I can say, I put all the pain you gave me on display and didn't realize instead of setting it free, I took what I hated and made it a part of me. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but but so this person is in pain and is thinking this way because they let themselves get shot in the back again by somebody else. Like they like fucked themselves into oblivion essentially. And I don't know, when I think of this song, it could just be like my own personal song. I think of a relationship when I think of this one. Like all of a sudden, like nothing I could do would distract me when I think of how I shot myself in the back again, and I put all the pain you gave to me on display. Like I showed you this pain, like I let, because a lot of people will do that. Like a lot of people say, just let all the emotions out now, and then they'll just leave you. But instead of, but you know, this person did that. They probably put all of their pain on display, and everybody saw it. And now they didn't realize that it didn't really set them free, but instead they took what they hated, which is probably what the actions that this person did, the words that they said, and then all of a sudden they became like they repeated it to themselves so many times in their head that all of a sudden they made that their reality. I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm sad. Like I've done this to myself before. Like I'm thinking to myself all of these things, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I just gotta let this out. And I'm like thinking of all this stuff that people have said to me, thinking about, and then all of a sudden I realize, like, holy shit. I thought about this so damn much, I manifested it into reality, and then I just became what I hated. And now I'm realizing it, so now I shot myself in the back again. So it shows that this person has been probably trapped in a little bit of a cycle for a little bit. Doing this, and as a person that has gone through that kind of a cycle, yeah, it happens, and you tend to look back on it a lot and go, why the fuck did I shoot myself in the back again? I knew what was going to happen. I knew what I was getting into. I knew what was going to happen. Like, I've never benefited from this before. Why the hell am I going to benefit from it now? And now, all of a sudden, I just fucked myself into oblivion again, and now I'm mad.
For me, this hits with sort of like the negative way someone's treating you happening repeatedly, and the recursion of it until it actually becomes a part of yourself, and you start thinking with that perception in mind.
And then all of a sudden, it's just out there, and now all this thing that you didn't want to be associated with, you've associated yourself with. But and then we go into the chorus, which is just an absolute banger. It's just, and now you've become a part of me. You'll always be right here. You've become a part of me. You'll always be my fear. I can't separate myself from what I've done. Giving up a part of me, I've let myself become you. There we go. That just confirms my theory right there. That just confirms what I just said. So now this person's actions, this negative person over here somewhere, just now you become, they are a part of you now. Even though you so desperately tried to run from it and you kept speaking it into reality, like, oh my gosh,
Separated.
I'm in so much pain. This hurts. Why? Why did this person do this to me? And then all of a sudden, they become a part of you. Their actions become a part of you. Then all of a sudden, you just squat on it, and then you just think your way into a mad depression, and then you'll always be right here. Like no matter what I do now, I've faltered on this for so long. I've dealt with this for so long, and I've been on the receiving end of this for so long that now it's like you're always gonna be right here. It doesn't matter where I am. You're always gonna be this one little fucking thorn in my side, and I can't get rid of it. And it goes to become a part of me. It goes right back to it. Now you'll always be my fear. Like no matter what I do, I can be having the greatest life. I could be on a yacht, a billionaire, like 15 supermodels popping champagne, right, on my yacht with me. I got all my boys, and I could be living like my best life, and then all of a sudden, here I am, thinking about this person again and what they've done to me. Now I'm always going to be in fear. Like even though I'm living so great on the outside, I'm like in a mansion. I have a yacht. I have anything that I could. I got nice cars. I have everything I ever wanted. But now I'm like, oh shit. how long until this person creeps back into my brain again.
No matter what happens, they're a part of you because you always are taking that mentality that they left you with and applying it to any and all future interactions you have.
And then you just like it just eats away at you forever and ever, and then this person is constantly your fear. Like no matter what happens, no matter how good your life can be, this person's always going to be in the back of your head, doing this little to you, getting all scary fingered up in there. And then we go right into
forevermore.
mm-hmm for, forevermore. Edgar Allan Poe time. Anyway, so now we go back into the second line, which confirms everything that I said. It says, "Hearing your name, those memories come back again. I remember when it started happening. I see you in every thought I had, and then those thoughts slowly found words attached to them." So this just goes into trauma. Honestly, like you hear this person's name, then all of a sudden you're like, you know, as a person that's been there before, yeah, that happens. It happens a lot. And it's like not just like this can also be about, of course, I think about a relationship when I think about this one, but it can also mean like a friendship. It can be a family member. It can be whatever it is. It's up to your interpretation, honestly. But that's just what. Fucking sip it down.
Don't worry, Laura's gonna do that.
Okay. Anthony just had to trigger me real quick with sip and dip.
Just wanted them to have an example.
And then that's kind of how it's gonna be though. Like whenever I hear sip and dip, I get mad. And then we gotta. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back at it. Sorry, I had to do a little snappy snap there, so Lawrence knew what to do. Anyway, so I was talking about Figure 9, and I was talking about how this is in relation to another person. Now we're going to hearing your name, the memories come back again. Yes, so goes to trauma, really. Like, it can be something so little, like hearing somebody's name. It could even, like, not even, like, just somebody that shares the same name as the person.
That you were affected by that brings you back to that moment.
And not just a trauma. That's a trauma response, obviously. So hearing your name, those memories come back again. All that pain that I had in the first one, all the stuff that I'm trying to forget about, all the stuff that I've healed from, mostly, all these shots, all these bullet holes in my back. All of a sudden, I hear your name of the person, whomever it was, or just somebody that just happens to share the same name, but you still hear their name. And then all of a sudden the memories just come back. All that pain that you've been subsiding and it's been on the shelf,
you're right back there.
You're right back there. And it just kind of sucks, you know? And then this guy goes into saying, this guy, gal, whomever, this person goes into saying, I remember when it started happening, I'd see you in every thought I had, and then those thoughts slowly found words attached to them. So this person probably obsessed on, like, thinking about this person for a little while. The things that they did, could be things that they missed, could be how they reacted to things, could be just their actions towards them. But from my perspective, it's like, you think back and you're reminiscing a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start missing, like, that person, and then, like, because then you just obsessively think about them, and it's just creeping up in here. It's just it's bundling and bundling up, even though you thought it was gone, and then it's not gone. And like I see you in every thought I had. Like I obsessed on this for a while, just nonstop thinking about you. Like, why did you do this? What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Were you the culprit? Was I the culprit? Who was it? Like, a whole lot of finger pointing, basically. And then I see you in every thought I had, and then those thoughts slowly found words attached to them. Like, you could hear the word, like, say, I don't know, pen. And then all of a sudden, the thoughts of a person just comes back at you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something. It doesn't need to just be, like, pen. It could be a word like heart. It could be a word like love. It could be a word like anything like that. And then all of a sudden, just that one word, or it could be something that person might have said a lot. Like, You know, like how everybody has their little catchphrases every now and again, things that they say often.
So pen is actually one for me because me and Brooke actually used to collect them at school, like discarded pens and whatnot. We would always grab them because why waste, right? Waste not, want not.
So, see, that's one for Anthony right there. Pen actually is one for him. My bad. I didn't mean to trigger your trauma.
It's fine.
My apologies.
Nah, no.
But you could hear a word like just something that you might have shared with that person at one point, because obviously the way that this song is laid out, you definitely had some happy memories with this person, and now all of a sudden they're just not there anymore. And then you hear something that reminds you of that time. Like I hear the word anime, and then all of a sudden I'm like, like
Odd note and in relation to what we were just discussing, I recommended that pen to you
Yes, you did.
because I started collecting them afterwards,
Hmm.
after my sister was out of my life, out of the picture.
Ye-
So it all comes full circle.
Yeah. And now here I am with the same pen that he was collecting with Brooke. Anyway, so it can be anything. It could be like a word like fireworks. Say you had a summer love and you always watched fireworks, or one of mine is sunset. Yeah, that one kills me. But you could just be thinking about that, and then all of a sudden you hear it, then you're like, yeah, well, I did this with that person. I saw fireworks with them on the 4th of July. That's when they kissed me for the first time, type of deal. Not that that happened to
So you
me.
get right back to
It,
the moment of the triggered response.
that wasn't actually a personal thing. I've never kissed somebody under fireworks on the 4th of July. Um, but yeah, it could be something like that. Like you hear the word fireworks, and I'm like, oh, well, I saw fireworks with this person on 4th of July one year, and that's when I had my first kiss. But I'm repeating myself though. So here we go. And I knew as they escaped away, I was committing myself to them. And every day, I regret saying those things because now I see that I took what I hated, and made it a part of me. So I knew as those words escaped away, and whenever I heard them, those thoughts came away. I was committing myself to these things that I said to you all the time. Like if you were like close friends with somebody, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there at your wedding. I'm gonna be like your best man, shit like that. You know, and then I was committing myself to those words, and I didn't want to break my promise, but now I have to realize there are promises I can't keep. That's a mixture of a song. Go and listen to it. But anyway, um, and now I gotta realize that there are promises that you could be committing yourself to those words, and every day you just keep committing yourself to that because you gave your word and you don't want to go back on it. And then now all of a sudden you realize that you regret saying those things, and you see that you took what you hated and then made it a part of you. Ooh.
And how this can also affect actions afterwards is that you'll want to try avoiding those things, and so something you might have enjoyed immensely at one point becomes something you'd rather avoid so that you don't have to bring up that trauma from before.
Exactly. That can be a multitude of things. It could be something super fun, like a carnival or something.
Could be bowling, could be
Could be
anything.
bowling. It could be, I don't know, an ice skating rink.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything like that. And then all of a sudden you're like, "Ooh, well, yep, no, not gonna go there anymore." And because I know that if I go there, I'm just gonna get depressed. But yeah, that's shit. And then we go back into the chorus. Uh, which when you become a part of me, you'll always be right here. All right. So anyway, we go back into a little bit of a bridge here. We go after the final. I've let myself become you. We got give me my space back. You gotta just go. Everything comes down to memories of you. I've kept it in, but now I'm letting you know. I let you go, so get away from me. Give me my space back. You gotta just go. Everything comes down to memories of you. And I've kept it in without letting you know. And I've let you go. And sorry. But that's just pretty much wraps it all up in a bow for you right there. Give me my space back. You gotta just go. I'm like screaming at you to get out of my brain. You living in there rent free right now, and you got to get the fuck out.
And I was gonna say what that also relates to is that in the lyrics he says he never let them know. So this might not even they might not even be aware of what they caused you or how it affected you.
Yeah,
It's just in here. It's
because there are
always
different.
part of you.
Like we said, it all comes down to perspective. Obviously, this person could have done something that they thought was the better move, and they thought that, hey, this will benefit, you know, both of us in a way, because then you don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, stuff like that, and then and you're like, yeah, this is gonna work out, and it's just fine, and that may work for you, but guess what? Not so much over here. Like you might not know, but it kind of hurt me. You know what I mean? So like you could think in your brain, people can be under that mentality, and you can't change that mentality, obviously, because it's, well, their mentality, and what they thought was the better solution. And then you could be like, oh, wait a minute, like, hold on, that's not what I thought, that's not what I had in mind. That's actually the complete opposite. I didn't want that.
It's not what I meant.
That's not what I meant. And then all of a sudden, you can be under all this pain, and they think that because they feel fine, maybe you feel fine, or maybe they feel a certain way, and then you don't feel that certain way, and then it can be, it can come down to that, and then you're like, holy shit, like, I'm in pain over here because of the decision that you made, and I'm not even gonna, you don't even know about it, you don't know, like, the fucking nights that I laid awake, the many times throughout the day that I just get destroyed from these thoughts that I had, these, like, those words, those thoughts that I had attached to our situation, And then you don't know the hours that I stayed up contemplating about it, the days I spent wondering about it.
You don't understand how in depth that affected them.
Exactly. Like, that's why you got to be careful with what you say to people, man. I mean, like I say, it's like always, like, you got to communicate well, obviously, and also you got to keep in mind how you communicate too, because what means one thing to you could mean a completely different thing to someone else, and that's why you really have to pick and choose, like, what you want them to feel, and what you want to get across without leaving it as little room for error as possible. Obviously, you're always going to have error, but make the errors as easy to communicate through as possible. Anyway, this song is very similar to another one on the album, which just so happens to be my favorite song that Linkin Park has ever produced. And the song is called Fate, and it actually comes right before Figure 9 on the album, so it's kind of, if you really want to get the messages all, like, put together, like, Faint is kind of the prequel to it. So we're going to get right into Faint, which is one of Linkin Park's biggest hits. If you haven't heard it, if you think you haven't heard it, you've heard it, I promise. And you just didn't know it was called Faint, because not one part in this song did they say faint. But it's really meant to be, like, kind of, I mean, faint is spelled like I'm about to faint, but, like, it really means, like, out in the background, like, I'm faint.
Briefest of touch.
Like, I'm out here. Like, I'm scary fingers over here. I'm that little ghost hovering over the shoulder. I'm that little angel, that little devil. I'm just kind of in the background. So we go into Faint, which I'm not gonna say too much because the lyrics will explain it all, and I have a perfect in depth about this one because I've listened to it so many damn times. Anyway, so here we go. You start off with Mike ripping it up. Got a cool instrumental at the beginning. Get the drums, then all of a sudden you get the the guitar riff that we all know and we all love. And then we go to the rap lyrics, which is, I am a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, and I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. Okay, that's just how we're gonna start the song, I guess. So this person, obviously, they feel alone. They feel disregarded. They feel like they're faint. And in the background, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. Yeah, this person has a lot of complaints, sure. But, like, he can't help it because, like, Like, he's wounded. He has all these scars that he's tried to heal from. That obviously, as we know how scar tissue works, the skin doesn't grow back as strong as it once was, right? So I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I am what I want you to want and what I want you to feel. But it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. Like, no matter what I say, no matter how many times I reach out, no matter how many times I give you signals that I'm not doing okay, no matter how many times I reach out, no matter how many times I've cried into your shoulder, I I can't help the fact. I can't help this. But no matter what, I can't convince you to just believe that I'm going through it because people are so quick to judge, especially back in '03. Like, if this person was like, like giving signals that they were depressed. I mean, of course, there are assholes that are like that will try to get attention from people. But if somebody actually appears like depressed like that, and they actually like you, they give you that kind of vibe, you're like, oh shit, type of deal. Like, people are quick to, judge, and they're quick to say, this person just wants attention. They're not actually upset. Look at what they have. Look at the house that he lives in.
So,
Look at the car they drive.
so back then in '03, it was get over it. You know, it's not as big as you're making it seem. But the thing is, that's not their perspective of it. To them,
Exactly.
it means a lot.
And then, like, because people are so quick to, like, even, like, parents, teachers, and even mental health, like, therapists, maybe guidance counselors at school, even though those are the people that are meant to be there to help you, they could just say that you're just trying to get attention, that you're not actually depressed. Like, my guidance counselor, you go to your guidance counselor, say you're depressed, they'd be like, why are you depressed? Look at your grades. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Because, like, my grades totally depend on what my happiness is. I'm sorry if I totally ear raped you there. But, yeah.
Another thing, not to take away from guidance counselor and whatnot, but they could be of the mindset of, oh, this worked for such and such, so it'll work here, and they're not taking the personal aspect of it into account.
Exactly. And they don't actually take into consideration how you truly feel. And then that just goes like, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So I let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Like, I stopped trying to let you know that I'm not doing okay. And I just watched you turn your back like you guys always done anyway, even when I told you I wasn't doing alright. And so I let you go. So I let you go, watching you turn your back like you always do, face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here because you're all that I got. I'm like, yo, yeah, sure, you're turning your back and you're like pretending that I'm not the way that I am and that I'm perfectly fine. Like, I had this beautiful smile on the outside. Yes, I'm perfectly fine. I have straight A's down the board. I have a nice car. I live in a good house. I have food on my table. I got nice sheets on my bed. I could be thinking about that. You looking at all that and you just face away and pretend like yeah, like, nah, you're full of shit, kid. You know? And then I'll be here because you're all that I got. I'm still gonna be over here though, letting you know, like, hey, look, I'm like suffering over here. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're just turning your back again. Like, here you go. You turned around to look at me and talk to me again after I said something that might have alarmed you a little bit. And now all of a sudden you're going back, and I'm gonna still be right here, still feeling the same way because, to be honest, you're like the only person that I kind of trust with this shit. You know what I mean? And then
The feeling of aloneness depicted in these lyrics is something that baffles me to this day because it's true. I want I want people to put themselves in this position where it's true that they're that alone and that no one's reaching out to them. And the other side is also true that the other person might have thought that they've done enough or might be thinking that this is, gonna help or might be thinking that you're getting better. But the idea of still being alone is what's the centerpiece of that.
and that's just highlighted perfectly by this whole song. And then we go right into the chorus, face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here because you're all that I got. Then we got a little bit of break. Then Chester comes in with the I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't heal this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. This person just fucking snapped, is basically what that says. He's so sick of these people that he trusts, these friends, these supports that he's going to all the time. These people that are supposed to help him, and then they're not listening to him. They're not hearing him out. They're not trying to hear their perspective. Like, I can't feel anymore. I feel like I can't feel anything like I used to. And don't turn your back on me again because I refuse to be ignored now. Like, I need fucking help and you're going to help me type of deal. I am so desperate and right now I can't get over it.
The breaking point.
I am up to here basically. And then don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't heal this damage anymore. I've tried to do this because people say time's the greatest healer, which is true, but sometimes there are things that time can't always heal. There still are lingering effects of it that negatively affect you. Like, time won't heal this damage anymore. I've been damaged so much and I've been ignored so much that nothing can repair it, and time won't repair it anymore. I need I need you now type of deal. Now, don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Like, this person's out there. He's just broken, desperate, like, completely boiled over, and, like, the stove is, like, flooded in boiled water now. And he's letting everybody know. And then, like, unfortunately, sometimes it takes you getting to that breaking point that you end up, like, that's when people actually start taking you serious, which sometimes, even if you get to that point, not everybody will listen, and then you get a song like Breaking the Habit, which we'll get into very shortly. We still got a little bit of faint to go through.
And sometimes that's just a band-aid covering something that's not healing properly or correctly.
And if we're gonna, like, turn this back to, like, figure 9, how we said, like, those are, like, actions that people have done towards you, this is, like, how you could feel because of those actions that people have done towards you. Like, I feel like this because this. Or because of this, I feel this, you know? Because I've been shafted so many times and because I've been subsided by you this whole time, I now feel like this. Or if you want to think about it the other way around, which I think is the better way, is like, I feel like this because of these actions that this person has done to me. Or this could be one of the reasons why, because it's not always, not all of your problems are, like, on other people, you know? That's just something that we need. That's a tough pill that we have to swallow sometimes, and you can't just go around pointing fingers, which sometimes, yes, the pain that you feel can be a result of what people have done to you, but the thing that you can't control how people act towards you, but you can control your reaction. And, like, so you can't go and, like, you know, point fingers all the time, because sometimes, like, you actually have something deep-rooted that needs some help. Like, sure, the actions that this person gave, these horrible things that somebody might have done to you, that could be, like, a, I don't want to say side effect, but, like, a side effect of the main problem. Like, you have a problem in here, so therefore out here happened, and all that pain that happened out here is just a reflection of how you are in here. You know what I mean? And that's what I really pick up from this whole thing. And then we go into the second verse. Mike rips it up again by saying, I am a little bit insecure and a little unconfident because you don't understand that I do what I can, but sometimes I don't make sense. I am what you never wanted to say, what you never want to say, but I've never had a doubt. It's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you for once just to hear me out. So I let go, watching you, turn your back like you always do, face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here because you're all that I got. So he repeats the last two lines, but we go into he says a little bit insecure. This guy, it feels a little bit, because he's feeling this way and he sees everybody's, like, fine out here, or at least the people up here fine. And he feels a little bit insecure about it. Like, why am I feeling like this? Everybody else feels like this. So, like, maybe I'm the weirdo for, like, feeling this way because nobody else feels this way. But in actuality, that's exactly how everybody else feels. But, I'm a little bit insecure and I'm a little unconfident now because, like, I've been destroyed so much that my confidence is at an all-time low type of deal. Like, I feel as though I can't do anything right type of deal because no matter what, because you don't understand that I do what I can. Like, I'm trying to do what I can to get by. I get it. Sometimes my actions don't make sense. Like, I might be doing weird things to cope. Like, me taking random-ass drives could be pretty weird, but it's how I can how I can cope with some things. Like, sure, I might not always make sense, but I am what you never want to say, but I've never had a doubt. So, basically saying what I am what you never want to say. So he's saying like, look, I'm feeling this way, but you're feeling the same way, but you refuse to admit it. That's what I get from here. Like, this is like, you're reaching beyond now. You're kind of breaking the musical fourth wall now. I am what you never want to say, because I never had a doubt that no matter what I do, I can't convince you for once just to hear me out. This guy, once again, he's like saying, look, I know that you might feel the same way, but guess what? It also doesn't take away from the fact that I can't get people to hear me out, and you could feel the same way too. So I get kind of a little bit of empathy from that little bit of the line, which probably isn't what it was meant to be for, but it's kind of how I get it, how I perceived it.
I see it as a self-destructive tornado in the sense that I feel like this, and even though I know that you're probably feeling like this, that we're not talking about it together, that you're not understanding me, is making me feel more like this. And then I see that, I go back here, and then it's just
Wee! We going around like a goddamn Ferris wheel. We going around like a goddamn Ferris wheel, then it gets derailed. Then it gets derailed. That's like not a word. Oh my goodness.
We'll make it a word.
What would that even mean?
We don't know yet. We're working on it. We're in progress.
Merriam-Webster Dictionary, please reach out to your boy. Anyway, so then we go back into the chorus, the absolute banger chorus. I can't feel the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me, I won't be ignored. Yeah, alright, I won't do much more than that. And then we go into a little bit of a bridge here. It says, hear me out. No, hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or not. Right now. Hear me out now. You're gonna listen to me like it or not. Right now. Now, I know that sounded very repetitive, but I gotta let you know that that part of the song is screamed. Like, at the top of Chester's vocal cords. Like, at the top of his lungs. He's screaming, no! Hear me out now. This person is absolutely at a breaking point. Even more than at the chorus. This person's like completely destroyed by this point, saying to the point that they're like demanding that you listen to me. Because I feel like this, and I don't know why I feel like this. I need help. I'm clueless. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So you gotta hear me out right now. I don't care if you don't want to hear me. I don't care if you don't have time. I don't care if you don't care about my problems. Right now, I need someone to listen, and it's gonna be you, whether you like it or not, because I'm refusing to be ignored. It just gets to a point of desperation. That is. Like, he screams that line so desperately. And if you actually listen to the track, like, I don't know if Lawrence can do some editing magic and like get like the sound like here somewhere so you can hear like how desperately he screams it.
Well, he is a music man.
This is true.
To me, I'm picturing this as feeling not only backed into a corner to the point where you need to lash out with such an extreme case to actually be heard, but also like there's a cliff right behind you.
Like, yeah, you back me into a corner at a cliff. And that's why I'm so desperate. I'm like lunging forward because I'm like, you backed me up to here, and either way, I'm gonna go down.
With your non-actions and whatnot, with your not believing me,
With your ignoring. Oh.
the wound not healing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Because time just won't heal these wounds anymore. So that's just like the main. If we're gonna put Faint in a nutshell, it is a person that has been suffering for a very long time. It's a person that has been experiencing such extreme emotions and has tried to reach out for help, and tried to find help for himself or herself or themselves, whomever you are.
Constantly try. They are always there. They are also always the part that you don't want to talk about.
Exactly. Like, it just kind of comes back to the point. Like, if you have friends that can't like handle like the tough ones, the tough conversations like those, then maybe you shouldn't keep them around. It goes into like that kind of deal. But what I get from this is like this person's been suffering for a very long time, and they have tried to reach out. They have tried to help themselves many, many times. They have tried to reach out to people. They have tried and tried, but everybody keeps ignoring them, or at least they feel ignored. Or maybe people just gave them the yes treatment,
The band-aid over the broken ankle.
like giving the band-aid on the broken ankle, like giving you giving you the nod, like, yeah, yeah, I hear you, yeah, I get it, but no, like, no, you don't get it.
You'll get over this.
Exactly, like, yeah, like, it's like that, like, oh, yeah, I cheat, great, yeah, thanks for letting me know that I can get through this. Yeah, it's not like I haven't heard that from every other person that I've tried to talk to. Now, it's getting to a point now where they're just so tremendously broken that they are just lashing out. They fucking lost it, right? They're like, what the fuck? Why is nobody listening to me? I'm dying over here. And you guys are just sitting over there just fine. And no matter how many times I've tried to reach out to you, no matter how many times I've given you signs that I'm not okay, no matter how many times, how many conversations we had,
Heard me.
and how many times you've heard me, you're still not getting it. You don't get it. You're not helping me. I need help now. You got to do something. And then, because I can't do it anymore. I'm dead over here. I can't go on. I'm feeling like I am, no matter what I do, I'm going to go down the wrong path, or I'm going to end up destroying myself. And that gets into Breaking the Habit, which is a complete self-destruction song. Matter of fact, a fun fact about Breaking the Habit is Chester Bennington, when he was alive, R.I.P. Chester, we love him, we miss you, but we go into Breaking the Habit, and he hated performing this song. It was his least favorite song to ever perform because it was so personal to him. Because, like, he probably felt like that person in Faint. He probably had been on the receiving end of all that poor treatment. Oh, there's my brother. Everybody say hi to my brother. Alright, we're back at it. So, I was getting into Breaking the Habit. I mentioned that Chester hated it. He hated performing this song because of how personal it was. Because Chester had probably felt like that person in Faint, who was constantly reaching out, but found, like, no aid. And he could have been like that person in Figure 9, constantly attaching himself to the maltreatment that people have given to him. It could be abusers, it could be anything imaginable. Like, that could be abusers, it could be a family member, it could be ex-girlfriend, it could be ex-best friend, or, like, the classic friend to foe story. And then, like, he could be that person in Figure 9, and now all of a sudden, he is led into the ultimate self-destruction that is Breaking the Habit. Now we're going to go into this, because this one's a little bit heavy, there's a lot here, but it is probably the most in-depth track of this entire album. And it's a great, like, wrap it up with, like, a bow, and, like, sign your name on the name tag type of song right here. Now, Breaking the Habit starts off a little bit quick, like, it just kind of drops right into it. And then it starts off a little bit fast, and you hear the drum beat in the background, you hear, like, little symphonics. And then, all of a sudden, when Chester starts singing, the instrumentals take a break. And you hear just very faint instrumentals in the background, and then you get into the lyrics, because I can tell that due to the lack of heavy drum and guitar in this song, the lyrics are really what's meant to be put on display with this one. And then we get into it by saying the first verse, which is, memories consume, like opening the wound, I'm picking me apart again. You all assume I'm safe here in my room, unless I'm trying to start again. So, right off the rip, we're into some pretty hefty shit. So, he's saying memories consume. We go back to those memories that we mentioned in Figure 9. Memories consume, like opening a wound. We're going back to those wounds that aren't healing with time from Faint. And I'm picking me apart again. I have nobody around me, like the person in Faint. And now I'm destroying myself like I was in Crawling. And then I'm picking me apart again. And then it goes, you all assume I'm safe here in my room. Goes into back to those people ignoring him in Faint. Like, you think, oh, he's just in his room, but you don't know what the hell I'm doing back here. I could be doing drugs back here. I could be self-harming back here. I could be like destroyed by my own emotions back here. Like,
I was gonna say, can you picture just how lonely they felt of Faint? Like, where you had to scream to get the attention that you needed at that moment, and then for them to not even hear you at that point. That's just
they take it like this and go.
that's just an incredible amount of loneliness.
And then that brings you into your self-destruction, which is, like I said, I'm picking me apart again. And you all assume I'm safe here in my room, unless I'm trying to start again. Like, you don't know what the hell I'm doing back here, like I said. Like, and I see trying to start again as, like, I call it, like, reincarnation. Like, going to kill myself type of deal. You guys think I'm alright in here, but I could be, like, committing suicide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it's if you dropped a bad habit and they're thinking, oh, you're doing better, you're getting over it, time heals everything. You could be starting that back up when you're
Like,
left alone.
I could be relapsing off the perks. I could be relapsing on alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, anything like that, you know? Unless I try to start again. I think he uses, like, this kind of thing to make you think that it's, like, I see this song as, like, suicide, if I'm honest with you, but he uses the attribute, what do we say, like, the metaphor of, like, drugs and, like, bad habits, addiction. He uses it as, like, a cover-up to what actually means, like, death and, like, suicide. Yeah, this song mega dark, my friends. So then we go, unless I try to start again, I could be trying to start this bad habit again. I could be, like, trying to start a new life again, like, kind of like reincarnation type deal. And then, like, I don't want to be the one that the battles always choose, because inside I realize that I'm the one confused. And then, like, that just goes right into it. Why are these battles choosing me? Why am I the one that has to go through all of this? What did I do to get this kind of maltreatment in my life? Like, I don't want to be that anymore. Can it just stop? And then, like, but inside, I realize the reason why it's not stopping is because I'm the one that's confused. I don't know which way to think. I don't know where I am. I'm lost and I'm fighting myself. I just made two references. But, yeah, it's just like that. Like, I don't, like, I realize that I'm the one confused. And this is, like, the like, sobering freaking like reality that holy shit, like I am really fucking broken right now. Like I'm like destroyed type of deal. And then it goes, I don't know what's worth fighting for or why I have to scream. I don't know why I instigate and say what I don't mean. I don't know how I got this way. I know it's not alright. So I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit tonight. So, right off the rip, you probably think like addiction with the breaking the habit, but he says, I don't know what's worth fighting for. He's like, I am so desperately destroyed that I'm like, bro, what in the hell is going on? Like, why do I have to scream? Why do I have to scream to get your attention? Why do I have to scream in my own loneliness just to feel something? And then I don't know why I instigate and say what I don't mean. I don't know why I lash out at people like this. I don't know why I let all of this control me. And why do I say what I don't mean? Because I don't mean that. Like, because people with depression can really like lash out at people at times, like because of how much they're struggling. And here they can let it out on everybody else. And as a person that has done this before, it is very much true. And then I don't know how I got this way, but I know it's not alright. I don't know what led me down this path. I've had so much shit happen to me to this point that I don't know exactly what was the thing that made me like this. Like, what was the, like,
Trigger.
what was the trigger? What was the straw that broke the camel's
Putting on
back?
this corpse.
What put me here? What canon event put me here?
And it's not only what put me here, it's how I got here.
Like, whoa. Like, could I have done something different back there to make it different here? Type of deal. And then that just makes you go into a whole different kind of direction. And it goes, I know it's not alright, so I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit. So this could be like, you can think of it like, yeah, I'm starting to not like feel that way anymore. I'm starting to let go of feeling like I have to think this way. I'm breaking the habit of thinking badly, type of deal. But breaking the habit can also be overdosing, because then there's no habit anymore. You're dead. Like breaking the habit could be like dying by suicide, because now there's no more habit to break. I don't have a habit of thinking negatively anymore. I'm dead, right? It's the only way I can escape from this pain is by breaking the habit here. So you can think of it like that with addiction, or you can think of it with suicide. And honestly, post Chester's death, you think more suicide here. And then we go into the second verse. He goes, clutching my cure. I tightly lock the door, and I try to catch my breath again. I hurt much more than any time before. I have no options left again. And then, all right, that just goes into it. He's clutching his cure. This could be a pill bottle. This could be an alcohol bottle. This could be a knife. This
Yeah,
could
when I
be
hear clutching, I'm thinking like a razor.
like a razor. Like this is like I'm clutching my cure. This is the only thing that makes me feel better is by taking this knife and cutting with it,
Bleed it out.
bleeding it out over here. We get into that in the next album. But like it could be a gun, it could be a pill bottle, it could be an alcohol bottle, it could be a noose, it could be a knife. Like, and it makes me go into like the self harm stuff with this, because like clutching my cure, I tightly lock the door. I don't need anybody seeing this. And then I try to catch my breath again. I'm getting all this adrenaline from the pain. And this is the only thing that's making me feel better.
Like I said, I like to flip things.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that right now we're describing the ambiguity of breaking the habit, I think helps make it more relatable to the populace.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be any one of their habits that they are working on.
And then we go into I try to catch my breath again. Could be the adrenaline from the pain that you're feeling, because it's the only way that you're not thinking about it is when you're in pain. And it can be like, I hurt much more than any time before. Like I've felt bad before, but like right now I feel real bad. And that's why I had to resort to harming myself. And then
At this point, I'm thinking faint when no one's listening to you, and then figure 9 when you're picking at yourself to the extent that you get backed into the corner of the cliff. That this is the final, epitome, the result. This is what you wind up at.
mm-hmm. And then it'd be like, that was actually really good. Nah, I didn't think of it like that, but yeah, that's true. And then he'd be like, I had no options left again. That's the reason why I did this. And he said I had no options left again.
Not the first time.
Not the first time that he's resorted back to taking the pills again, picking up the bottle again, cutting himself again, or herself, themself, whomever. You know, cutting themselves. Like, and like having these suicidal thoughts, holding the noose, like saying I can hoist it right on the fan right now. You know what I mean? And then I had no options left again. And then it goes back into I don't want to be the one the battles always choose, because inside I realize that I'm the one confused. Then we go back to the chorus. And then this is when we get a little bit through that chorus, through after the I'm the one confused, that chorus, the instrumentals build up more. So it's like you're getting to like the climax of the song, and then it gets to the bridge, which is I'll paint it on the walls because I'm the one at fault. I'll never fight again, and this is how it ends. Like, this could be like, I cut myself into oblivion and it bled all over the wall. It could be a blood splatter from a gunshot. And then you'd like, I realize I'm the one at fault. Now I'll never fight again because I'm ending it right here.
To me, if I'm trying to describe this as words, then faint is loneliness. Figure 9 is self-deprecation, and breaking the habit right word for it.
I think breaking the habit's more self-deprecation than anything else.
Well, you're not listening to what I have to say. Breaking the habit would be now, are you?
No, this is true.
If it's not uselessness, it's when you have absolutely no control over your situation. When you are absolutely and totally like a non-player in your own situation.
Hopeless.
Hopelessness. That's the word.
Yeah, like breaking the habit is hopelessness.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead. Like this is it.
So I would
I'm
say
done. Like it's bad, and then we go into one more chorus
loneliness, self-deprecation,
and hope
loneliness.
and
Well, not
hopelessness.
loneliness, but
Hopelessness.
hopelessness. That's
Mhm. I've lost all hope because of this self-deprecation, and because of this loneliness, I'm done. I'm gone. I am beyond everything, and now I'm dead. Type of deal, or at least like brain dead. You know what I mean?
I want to get this right for once, at least once. So it went for me from. Damn, I lost it.
Loneliness.
Okay, it went from loneliness to self-deprecation to.
Hopelessness.
Well, this is what being up at 4 will do.
Yeah.
Alright, so cut those last 2 or 3 times I said that out. Okay? I believe in you. I have faith. Goes from. Got it. Goes from loneliness to self-deprecation to complete and utter.
Hopelessness. All right, we'll just move on. We'll just move on.
Loneliness, self-deprecation, hopelessness.
There you go. We got it. Anyway, here we go. So that's Meteora. I know it's a very in-depth album. We went over the 3 like deepest songs on there, but there are like some other ones on there. Like Nobody's Listening really highlights the loneliness. Hit the Floors, hopelessness in a way. Like these same themes kind of go over and over again in like typical rock metal, like rock rap fashion. Like, and then the album concludes with Numb.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would even put numb as how you feel afterwards when breaking the habit, if that fails.
If you get past breaking the habit, then you're just numb. You're just like, hey, you know what? Screw you. I'm just here. I'm existing. I'm gonna go do my own thing because numb is really just saying I've got to go and find my own peace.
And the term numb is when nothing's affecting such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So that's Meteora. It was a very, very successful album. A lot more headlines, and even Jay-Z took a liking to a couple of the songs on Meteora and Hybrid Theory, and then they actually made probably one of the coolest collaboration albums ever called Collision Course, where they would mix a lot of Jay-Z's biggest songs, and they mix Linkin Park's biggest songs, and they put them into one big thing, and it actually fucking worked. And it worked because everybody's like, oh, we got like a rock band, we got a rapper. How the hell are we gonna make that? But they made it work. I don't know how they did it. It's musical genius. Mike Shinoda and Jay-Z are like extremely talented when it comes to that shit. Like they are just cooking, bro, with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Now what the hell are you waiting for? Anyway, so after a wildly successful first 2 albums, we wouldn't really hear from Linkin Park for a little while. The band kind of split off in a way as the new metal genre died a little bit, as people weren't really mixing rock and rap anymore, which I don't know why it died in the first place. Like that shit was awesome, but
like for the success that Linkin Park had, there were many failures.
yeah,
Not with Linkin Park,
obviously they got the formula.
The people who tried to mimic or change up the formula just couldn't stack up.
And they couldn't quite interpret that blueprint that Beastie Boys left correctly and make a good formula out of it. Linkin Park did, Slipknot did, Korn did, Limp Bizkit did for a time, and then they kind of just fizzled off.
Well, that's because they just
That's just but yeah, so that's how, and then wildly successful. They headlined so many tours. They even made like Project Revolution tours, right, where they would have like rock bands and Like you'd have like Metallica and Jay-Z on the same stage, which was absolutely crazy, and it really just goes to the testament that how much Linkin Park did for the genre blending of rock and rap, and like how they were definitely pioneers of making that sound. And like there are still some bands now that figured out the Linkin Park formula and have made very good albums from it. People like From Ashes to New, especially, they're like the second coming of Linkin Park. Yeah, From Ashes to New, I Prevail, you have Beartooth, you have all these other metalcore bands that took Linkin Park's formula and made like their own thing. Emotionless and White, that's another one. And then they
Like, how open can you make this, Linkin Park? We're gonna blow the top off this.
and they sure as hell did. They made if you thought Beastie Boys did a lot, Linkin Park gave you a formula that you could modify to fit your own thing. You have bands like Falling in Reverse that have done it. You have Dropout Kings that have done it. I think I already mentioned I Prevail, but I'm going to say I Prevail again because I Prevail is awesome. Um, and they took what Linkin Park had, and they Flyleaf. That's another band that did very well. But my point is clear that Linkin Park gave you a formula that you could follow to be successful, and sure enough, we gave birth to a whole new wave of bands that are kind of reviving the genre. Of course, it's not new metal anymore. It's technically considered metalcore these days because the sound is slightly changed. But regardless, though, Linkin Park did a lot to show you that hey, look, you can blend these two genres together and you can make it work. But like I said, we wouldn't hear from Linkin Park for a long time. Around like '05, like '06, they kind of dropped a little bit. And it's because they kind of had to go off, and I mean, obviously, the sound of the radio was starting to adjust to less of like the new metal, like angsty sound, and the more like alternative esque bands that came out of that era. And then then of course you had the intro of like electropop that came in towards the tail end of like the early 2000s. Like we're talking like '09, but we'll get more into electropop and all that when we get to A Thousand Suns. But first, we gotta tackle the new sound that Linkin Park put on in '07 when they finally came back together and made a new album. Now, prior to this album, Mike Shinoda and Chester Bennington both went off and did their own thing for a little while. You guys probably have heard of Fort Minor. Yeah, that's Mike Shinoda. 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power. Well, yeah, that's Mike Shinoda. That's Fort Minor, in case you didn't know that.
100% reason to remember the name.
Yes. And then Chester went and made his own band called Dead by Sunrise, which they put out a banger record. You should totally go and check it out.
As soon as you're done here.
As soon as you're done here, though, you still got us for at least a little while longer. And then they got into this new era, this new sound of Linkin Park, and this new sound was more like alternative, kind of fit more the post-grungy. I don't want to say exactly post-grunge, because it wasn't technically that. It was more alternative sounding than post-grunge, but kind of took that same kind of stained sound, and kind of modified it to make it like this alternative post grungy kind of weird with a little bit of electronics into like
Hint of wine.
very we'll call it an experimental album for sure because if you listen to Minutes to Midnight in comparison to Hybrid Theory and Meteor, you can see the difference. You see the maturity of the band. You see that their sound changes a little bit. They're not these angry kids on stage anymore, talking about how much pain they're in. But of course, those themes still remain. But now we're getting into a different sound. So safe to say that this album was very experimental for Linkin Park because they never really had a sound like this before. Minutes to Midnight was actually the first album that Linkin Park swore on. Like they had a completely clean record until they made Minutes to Midnight, and it was it hit right on the mark. They did very well with this whole album, and it is one of those things that like people consider like classic Linkin Park because obviously we're in like classic Linkin Park era right now. Hybrid Theory, Meteor, and Minutes to Midnight tend to be the ones that are the classic Linkin Park albums, and Minutes to Midnight actually has something to do at like an apocalyptic message to it. It has something to do with nuclear war. I forget exactly what Chester said about it, but he had mentioned it in an interview, saying that minutes to midnight is like how many minutes until a nuclear bomb goes off. So it just kind of goes to show that something's about to change. You're kind of in this weird gray area,
Something big is about to happen.
you're about like we're minutes away from midnight. It's like you're kind of in that gray area. You know that the world's gonna end, that something's gonna change, but like it's not quite going yet. You're kind of sitting on it, waiting for it to happen, and that kind of fits the whole vibe of like this album and like this era that Linkin Park was in, the Minutes to Midnight era. So it starts off with Wake, which is a little instrumental track. It sounds kind of faint. It's not like not very loud. It's not very crazy. But then we go right into Giving Up, which is a special track on this one because obviously, if you are a Linkin Park fan or even just a metal fan in general, you know Giving Up is the track that Chester screams for 17 seconds straight on, and it that that's one of the special songs on here. Plus, leave out all the rest. We have Shadow of the Day on here. We have What I've Done, and and then we have like very, very, very different sounding Linkin Park songs like Hands Held High, like Valentine's Day. We have In Pieces and Little Things Give You Away. Those are very different sounding Linkin Park tracks. It's like they kind of went in with this alternative sound with like Giving Up, Leave Out All the Rest, Bleed It Out, Shadow of the Day, What I've Done, and then you kind of get into this transitional period where it's Hands Held High, which is kind of just a rap from Mike's point of view, and it's it's kind of an anti-war thing because obviously we know the whole Iraq thing was going on at this point in time, and that's just like what was going on. They got a little political on this album, not terribly political, but they got a little political on here. So because like I said, like Hands Held High is an anti-war song. It shows that they didn't really support the invasion of Iraq. And then yeah, No More Sorrow. They even say like you replace freedom with fear, you trade money for lies. Like they got a little, a little bit handsy with the Bush administration.
Well,
But
I was gonna say. So we were talking about classic Linkin Park just a bit ago, and how this was really the sorry about that, the precipice for it, the lead up and whatnot. I think taking a stand with your platform is something that can definitely make you an icon and a measuring stick, really, for all else that follows.
exactly. That's actually I never really thought of it that way. Good point. But yeah, there's a couple of good ones on this album. But a couple of good ones that stand out to me are Hands Held High, obviously. I love Leave Out All the Rest, and then how can we sleep on What I've Done? Come on, man, that song's a banger. I did a yo-yo freestyle to it. Yeah, a yo-yo. Surprise, surprise. Some of you probably knew that, but to those that didn't, but yeah, and I mean there wasn't really much like lyrically to go down with Minutes to Midnight. Every single song was very experimental. They just kind of wanted to test out this new sound that they had because like you went in with the alternative sound, like I said, and you kind of went out with very instrumental songs. Like Valentine's Day in between and In Pieces and even Little Things Give You Away. That's like very minimal instruments. There was a lot of symphonics in those songs. And that would actually give way to A Thousand Suns, which is coming later on. But first, we gotta at least go over one song on here. And should we what should we do?
Well, thanks for not asking what my favorites were. That's cool.
Oh yeah, my bad.
That's why you're the host and I'm the co-host.
My bad. Whoops.
Um,
What are your favorites off the album? Oh man.
I would go with Leave Out All the Rest, What I've Done, and Bleed It Out.
Those are very good ones. I say we got some in common with Leave Out All the Rest and What I've Done. So, I mean, Leave Out All the Rest, I don't really need to bring up the lyrics for it. But Leave Out All the Rest is this really somber track. Like, very unlike Linkin Park, ever made before. I mean, sure, we had a couple of, like, slower songs. We had Easier to Run, but even then you can't even really call Easier to Run a slow song. The only thing that Linkin Park had close to a ballad was My December off of Hybrid Theory. Even then, there was heavy guitars in that shit. But Leave Out All the Rest was Linkin Park's first like ballad. Because, every rock song needs the slow song, and they put the lights down low, get the lighters up, or phone flashlights these days, because nobody smokes cigarettes anymore. But,
They're illegal in most places unless you're already addicted to them.
facts. And, not that that's a bad thing, cigarettes are bad. Very bad. Don't inhale things, don't smoke things.
Secondhand smoke is dangerous too.
Secondhand smoke is good too. So hide your kids whenever you're smoking. Smoke outside. Be a good person. Don't smoke in the living room. If you smoke in the living room, unless it's just like you and like your spouse or something. But even then, um,
So, on the side note here, and because I want to get my voice in there, don't worry, I'm gonna keep him in check by talking too. Now you were saying this is a very different like sound and whatnot, and this specific song, which Leave Out All the Rest, is very iconic for that. I also would say that it follows kind of a story and a trend set by the previous albums in such a way that if you're in Hybrid Theory, right, you've got negative feelings,
whole lot of self-destruction. Whole lot of self-destruction.
Connecting a lot with it. And if you're on Meteora, then as we already went over, loneliness, self-deprecation, and hopelessness. By the way, I got that right that time, and I was working on that in my head just a bit ago. And you could even go so far as to say numb is how you feel after the fact and afterwards. Then this, if anything, I think would make for a great goodbye song.
Like when you like play at the funeral type deal.
Yes.
If in turn you get there as a result of everything, which unfortunately a lot of people do. Second leading cause of death amongst young people is suicide next to car accidents, which is fucking awful. And it goes to show how much, even though mental health is out there, it's in the spotlight now, and people are prioritizing it now. Now it's like
we got a ways to go.
We still got a ways to go. There's still a lot of stigma there, especially with men. And just therapy in general, therapy in general, mostly because if you're going to therapy, people are gonna think like you're crazy or something. And actually, I'm just trying to talk, bro. Like, no mental health stigmas here. And of course, if you or somebody else, has those kind of suicidal thoughts, remember that you are loved. And there are many people that have eyes on you. You got more eyes on you than you think. You can do more than you say you can. And remember that if you got to reach out to a friend, go ahead and do it. Make sure it's a good friend, though. Not one that'll just ignore you. You got to reach out to someone you trust. No, definitely not. Go to a trusted adult, but if that's not your deal, go to somebody that you really trust, spouse, best friend, brother, sister, mom, dad, uncle, someone, cousin. And if that, remember that the suicide hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. Anyway, so we're gonna get into Leave Out All the Rest now, since we're on the topic of death. Alright, so Leave Out All the Rest. It's a very somber song, and it's Linkin Park's first true ballad. One that, you turn the lights down low for and you put the lighters up for. But in this song, comes out in 2007, right? It's about 10 years before Chester's death. And he's making a song called Leave Out All the Rest, which is how he wants you to think about him when he's gone. And, the chorus is, when my time comes, forget the wrong that I've done. Help me leave behind some reasons to be missed. Don't resent me, and if you're feeling empty, keep me in your memory and leave out all the rest. He's saying that, look, man, I'm struggling, and I don't really know where my life's gonna go, right? So if anything bad happens to me, or I do something bad to myself, or some tragic accident happens, and I end up not being able to be here tomorrow, then I need you to know this. Because if you're asking, I want you to know that, I don't want you to resent me. I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to think about the bad memories. Just think about the good, and remember me for who I was truly, before all the pain, before everything, despite all the pain that I went through, despite all the battles I went through. Remember the person that I was, and, help me leave behind something that can be missed.
Oddly enough, and I gotta bring this to the forefront of mind just because of the way that you said and phrased that, it reminds me a lot of Just Like You and F-Strap.
Yeah. just in case my car goes off the highway or the plane that I get on decides that it's my last day. Yeah, he's like very advice giving. It's like that kind of song. And then like he goes over all of it. Like, yeah, I fought a lot of battles. Yeah, I got a lot of scars. But like, remember, like who I am at my core. Remember that I did all of this. That I tried my best, and that I did everything that I could to stay here for as long as I could. And unfortunately, this happened to me. And I might have done it by myself, or I could have been a freak accident. But either way, don't remember me for all the bad. Remember me for what I was known for, what I was good for. Like, all my redeemable qualities, because overall, I want you to remember me as being a very good person. Somebody that did his best to, leave a mark on people, and despite all the challenges that I had to face. And that's pretty much leave out all the rest. I don't really need to go into too much depth there. And then, what was the other one that we had in common? We had one with what I've done.
Yep.
What I've done, I face myself, cross out what. Sorry, I'm so, I'm so sorry, audience. I'm like, so basically, what happens with what I've done? It kind of goes back to leave out all the rest in a way, like, but instead of death, it's like, look, man, I fucked up. It's like a very reconciliation type of song. Like, it says, like, what, right off the top, like, in this farewell, there's no blood, there's no alibi, but I've drawn regrets from the truth of 1,000 lies. This guy could have done some pretty hurtful things. Maybe lied a couple times, but now he's like, let mercy come and wash away what I've done. And I'll face myself right now. I'll cross out what I've become because of all my lies, because of everything that I might have done in the past that was negative, that might have hurt people. It's like really taking a 180, like coming to the self-realization that, oh shit, I fucked up. And now I know I'm not going to get your forgiveness right away, but I'm going to tell you how willing I am to go through this and reconcile with you. I want to cross out what I've become. I want to erase myself and let go of what I've done in the past. And it's like, put to rest what you thought of me before, because I'm not that person anymore. I have had a skull crushing reality check, and holy shit, did I not like what I saw. And now I'm like, I'm gonna clean this slate, but my hands are uncertain. I clean this slate with the hands of uncertainty. Look, even though I'm doing all this work, even though I'm putting in all this effort to show you that I'm not who I was anymore, I'm still uncertain that you're even going to accept this, because I don't know how much damage I've done. I don't know if it's gotten to the point where, like, you can't forgive me anymore, because sometimes it gets to that point.
I feel
And
like a lot of people can relate to this and face regrets because of some of the words that are spoken here.
like, but sometimes it's not always as hard as one may think. People, it depends on who you're with, obviously. If you're with a very grudgy person, more than likely you're never going to win their forgiveness. But, like, if you open up your brain and you open up your heart, you can forgive somebody and start something different, and, clean the slate, obviously, and just put to rest all those other things.
But all that stuff has to come out of, you know, genuine. Has to all be from a genuine place.
Time in. Alright. So, what I'm saying is, like, you can get to that point. But it's up to you, and it's also up to them. Obviously, we all know actions speak louder than words. I can give you the most best sounding apology ever, make it sound like it came genuinely from my heart, but, like, until my actions reflect that, you might not believe me. So therefore, like, even though my hands are uncertain, I'm cleaning this slate off. I'm telling you right now that this is what I want. I don't want to have this anymore. I don't want to have this hurt between us and all that. Yeah, so forgiveness is one of those things that needs to be mutually understood and needs to be equal action, equal put in, equal put out. And it's possible. It can be done. I mean, sometimes you'll run into a grudgy person that won't let you do it. And then it could end up going the opposite way, but even then, hey, at least you realize that, like, hey, look, I kind of fucked up. I kind of want to make this work. You came to that self realization, and that at the end of the day is probably your biggest victory. Righting your wrongs. They say it all the time. You live and you learn, especially at my age. So,
At least you realized it yourself and you tried to make amends, which also says a lot about your person and your character development as a whole. Because
exactly.
you won't be able to get through to everyone, of course, but just the effort when seen by others also changes the way that they look at you.
Exactly. So then we go into another lovely chorus. Um, and then it goes, I'd start again, and whatever pain may come, today this ends, and I'm forgiving what I've done. Like, that goes to say, I'm forgiving myself for this.
I was going to say self forgiveness is very hard sometimes, too.
Extremely hard. I'm pretty sure both Anthony and I struggle with that one a whole fucking lot. So, it's just, I'm forgiving what I've done. Today this ends. I'm gonna stop hurting people. I'm gonna stop acting this way because my actions cause somebody else to be in pain, and I don't want that to happen ever again because it's just not what I want.
And as an iconic song, I think that you could also put this in after Figure 9, because that's about you taking the action someone puts on you and then inflicting on again and continuing the cycle. Forgiving yourself for what you've done and changing your output, huge steps.
It's huge. So basically, what I've done in a nutshell, it's forgiveness of yourself, making amends, and not letting past define you, and
Moving forward
and moving forward.
with a different set in mind and with a better viewpoint.
So that's basically what I've done in a nutshell. And you know, this album was wildly successful. I mean, that song, "What I've Done," it got put in Transformers, like, which is awesome. And songs like that, they really like go to show the band's like maturity as a whole.
That song
And
will definitely outlive some of the songs from that time and era.
oh my gosh, you listen to it now, you're gonna think it came out yesterday. And like if you had never heard it before, of course. And but it's those. That's like the main thing that you got to take away from Minutes to Midnight. It was the start of a change for the band, and it was also you started to see their development as people. You starting to see this new version of them, and it sets. And obviously this was a very experimental album. They wanted to test how far they could go, despite not being defined by the the sound of Hybrid Theory and Meteora. They wanted to show that they wanted to flex their musical muscle a little bit. They wanted to show you that, hey, we're not just an angsty metal band. We can actually have songs that have a whole lot of meaning and have this different kind of rock sound to them rather than the metal. And all that put together just goes for a great third album and a great way to kind of cap off like that era of Linkin Park.
And this also proves just how mature they were as a group, because as an artist, changing the way you sound or changing what you produce, what you put out, the style, the theme of your music, that's gotta be one of the scariest things you could possibly do.
Because then you're gonna be constantly in your head thinking like, what if the people don't like it? What if the record sales go down? What if we ultimately fail and we can't make this kind of sound?
What if is a terrifying question.
It really is.
Any aspect.
It really is. Whether you're talking about future endeavors or past endeavors, what if is definitely very scary. And that's something you should actively repeat to yourself. Because then you're just gonna get caught up in that, and then all of a sudden you're gonna get mind fucked.
Spiral downwards.
So anyway, that's gonna conclude the first, I guess, era of Linkin Park. We're gonna call this the classic era because all of their classics are right here, and these 3 albums. So Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and Minutes to Midnight are all considered to be these classic Linkin Park albums, and we're gonna do a part 2, as I mentioned on the Instagram. Go and follow front_row_access on Instagram, and I mentioned it's gonna be a 2-parter because there's a whole lot to Linkin Park. As you can see, we took 2 hours to talk about 3 albums. Yeah, we got 4 more to go.
You have meat and potatoes, though.
Yeah, we gave you the meat and potatoes, which like every other album was built off of, and this Minutes to Midnight album, the one that closed out this set list, this era of Linkin Park, opened the door perfectly for the next era, which we're gonna get into. So the next episode, we're gonna be going over the electronic era of Linkin Park, which is going to be cultivated of Thousand Suns, Living Things, and then they're gonna go back to their roots after Living Things with a little bit of a punk rock sounding album with Hunting Party. And then we're gonna go over, if we got enough time, we might need to do a short, like, separate, like, thing on it, but I don't think we will. I'm gonna stick to making this a 2-parter. And then we're gonna go over their last album, their final album, and then we're gonna ultimately wrap up Linkin Park, their legacy, their influence, obviously. And then, of course, we're gonna go and we're gonna recap Chester's unfortunate departure, and then we're gonna go over. Yeah, R.I.P. So we're gonna be going over all of that, and then plus their kind of resurgence that they've been having.
I was gonna say influences from them, unreleased songs. There's lots of content.
It's a whole lot more.
We can say that we went over the classic Linkin Park now, but that by no means that there's not as much to unpack in this next part,
which is going to be awesome. I have no idea when part 2 is going to be out. We're going to get there eventually, but we want to get this one out to you guys to at least give you something.
And we're sorry for teasing you before.
Very, very sorry. That was completely on me. Lost that shit in the editing. Anyway, so thank you guys for tuning in. I know this was a bit of a long one. If you stuck around, you guys are awesome. If you watched this in parts, you guys are still awesome.
And that one guy, still goated.
And that one guy that watched through this whole thing 100%, you are goated. Please tell your friends about us and force them to watch this with us. So anyway, until we do our part 2 on the, I guess, second era of Linkin Park.
Second era in the aftermath.
Second era in the aftermath. This is the Front Row Access Podcast. I'm Steven Russo, your host. My co-host, Anthony.
I'm Anthony.
And, of course...
And we have a business email to reach out to us.
We have a business email, and of course, if you want to email us some questions, guys, for any of the viewers that care, we have a new business email, and it is, I don't know it by heart yet, hold on, I'm pulling it up now. It is Front Row Access, all one word, frontrowaccess15@gmail.com. So go ahead and reach out to us if you got any questions, if you even care to. If not, well, at least you know it's there.
Hey, if you want to talk to us at the podcast, that's the way to get to us,
If you want something on and you want it specially requested, send it right through there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you're listening to the Front Row Access Podcast. Thank you and good night.